You said to yourself last year that if you got promoted to the next level and you got a 20% pay bump, that would make you so happy. And congratulations, it happened. You got that promotion. You got that 20% pay bump. How come Monday still feels like dog shit? How come you're still scrolling LinkedIn at lunch? And how come you're still frustrated and tired all the time? I want to talk to you today about this trap that we fall into in our careers and what to do about it specifically. Welcome into the channel. My name is Tom. I'm the founder of Vertical Motion. We help good people become great leaders. That means we work with authentic, empathetic, and audacious people who want to change the world for the better, who actually want to lead people to better outcomes and experiences. You want to create value, not extract it. If that sounds like you, there's a link down in the description of this video where you can learn about how we can help you achieve those things. Today, what I'm talking to you about is this trap that we fall into, the money trap, where we believe that more money solves all of our problems. Let me describe a pattern that you might recognize, right? I want you to think about when you first started your career, the first decade of your career was really all about trying to hit a certain number. If I could just make this much money per year, then everything will be different. Later on, it became, well, if I can make this much more money per year, life will be so much better. And then I'll be excited to live my life more happily than I do right now. You've probably gotten some of those raises. You've probably gotten some of those promotions. Your lifestyle did improve. And yes, below a certain threshold, life is hard. Life is very hard below a certain threshold. So I want to acknowledge that. But above a certain threshold, it gets kind of mushy in terms of how good things get. And the external markers are saying, yeah, you're doing great. Your external validation in your checking account and the nice car that you have now and the neighborhood you live in and all of those things, right? They're markers of how successful you are. And yet your day-to-day is kind of dull and boring and a little miserable. And it doesn't change very much. And you're just kind of like going through the motions to make all this money, to have these things that you don't even enjoy having. This is a real problem that we have in society. We all feel like we have to be externally validated to prove that we are successful. And that doesn't really take into consideration the human element here. If we're always maximizing for our things and our income and our money and our wealth, well, if we maximize for those things exclusively, that means we're not maximizing things like our health or our mental health or our mental stability or our connection to our life purpose and meaning in life. And so this is the problem that I see. That I had a client once, you're gonna love this story. I had a client who was telling me he wants to move up in his career. And he was already vice president, but he wanted to get to senior vice president. And so we started working together. And I started to pick up on something here. And I realized he hates his whole industry. He hates his job. He hates his company. There's no company in his industry that he wants to work for. And so I asked him, how much money would you have to make in order to be happy? And he looked me dead in the eyes and said, Tom, I'd have to make more $100,000 in order to be happy. In other words, what he was saying is that he would never be happy. He would always need more. Even if he got a promotion, 150% promotion, now he's making 7 figures, he'd still be miserable. And this, by the way, is why you see grumpy, crabby investment bankers walking around Wall Street earning $10 million a year. Money cannot fill a heart-sized hole in your chest. Money just enables you to do things. But if you don't love what you're doing, you don't feel like you're working in your life purpose, that's just a very hollow thing to have. Rich people are miserable too. They are way less miserable than poor people because people below a certain threshold of income are fighting for basic necessities like shelter and food, and I don't want to discount that in this conversation. Above that threshold, though, whether you make $150,000 or $500,000, if you're in that range of income, not much changes, quite honestly. And I'm someone who has gone from making $600 a month in the Army. That's what I made when I joined the Army, $633 a month. I don't even know what that is per hour. It's pennies. I think it's 17 cents or something. But I went from $600 a month to making significantly more money, orders of magnitude more. Not much changes, right? The quality of your car changes. The ability to eat out at dinner more often changes. You can go on nicer vacations. All of that is true. But what I found the hard way was that if you don't have meaning and purpose in what you do, it doesn't matter how much money you make. And so I'll talk about myself. I'll talk about my own experience here. Back in 2022, I had been working as the number 2 guy at a really great company. I had an amazing boss. The head of this business was a really great guy. He was kind of this gruff boomer type, but he was really cool dude. I really enjoyed working with him. He kind of came off with this pessimistic energy, but the reality, he was kind of a gooey guy in the middle. And so I felt like I could understand him and work with him. I get to be the outgoing, optimistic type that's the kind of counterbalance to him. And we worked really well together. I really enjoyed this job. That being said, I hated my industry. I didn't love what I did. I have a lot of reasons for why that is the case, but really going back to 2003, I had fallen out of love with the industry that I worked in for a long time. And I kept working in this industry because I believed to myself, this is all I know how to do. And I'm very good at this, and so I should do this because I'm very good at it. In 2022, I got sick with acute myeloid leukemia. And some of you may know the story. They gave me 6 weeks to live and told me, hey, you should have a last will and testament, and I will do our best, but be prepared for the worst. That first night in the hospital, I sat there in the gurney thinking to myself, all the things that I didn't get to do, and none of them had anything to do with the industry that I worked in, or that even the technology that I was still fascinated by. I didn't think about those things. I thought about all the other things that I never got to do in life. I tell you this story because on the other side of this, I realized while I was in the hospital that my purpose in life was to teach. And specifically, I wanted to teach leadership. And I could do that as an executive in this organization, teaching people how to move up in the organization, but it wasn't the breadth of impact that I wanted to have, which, by the way, is why here we are on YouTube celebrating our 3rd year on creating these YouTube videos that hundreds of people watch, and I'm okay with this being a small channel. I enjoy having the company of those of you come in and watch this with me. I will always do this because it is my life purpose to teach. And when I did recover, obviously, from leukemia in February 2023, I made a decision that I was going to leave that industry once and for all and go become a coach, even if it meant bankrupting myself and ruining. I didn't care anymore. I didn't want to spend another day not living in my life purpose. And so a couple months later, I walked away from this very lucrative job that paid me extremely well. They took very good care of me. I could go anywhere in the world. It was an amazing job. It really was. But it wasn't what I was supposed to do. And I realized that if I wasn't in alignment with my life purpose, I would never be happy. Even in that job, as I was making as much money as I was making, all I was thinking about is how can I make more? So I can do this, so I can do that, so I can have this, so I can give that. Like, it's all I thought about was money. Money, money, money. And it was like, I don't love what I do. I don't even really love the industry that I'm in anymore, but I do it because I don't know what else to do. So now, 3 years later, I've been working as a coach, and I've worked with hundreds of clients. I've worked with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, really, on social media, at live events, talking to you like this. And what I found is that I love what I do so much, I would do it for free. And some months it kind of feels like I do it for free, but like that's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm living in my life purpose. I'm true to who I'm supposed to be. I found that out. Now, it took a near-death experience for me, and I don't want that to be the case for you. So I want to give you a tool in how you can figure out what your life purpose is, and then work to adapt your career to your life purpose, or change your career entirely. So there's this amazing tool that I found when I was in the hospital. A neighbor of mine suggested that I fill in this tool. He called it Ikigai. Now, it turns out this actually isn't what Ikigai is, and there's a whole story there I'm not going to get into. For those of you that are the Ikigai purists out there, don't at me. I get it. It's not Ikigai. However, that being said, for the purposes of this video and what I do as a coach, I call it Ikigai. I should probably call it something else. Anyway, that aside, Ikigai, as defined by me, is a set of 4 questions that you ask yourself that help you determine what you're supposed to do in life. The first question you ask yourself is, what do I love? What do I love doing? What makes me happy? What brings me joy? What brings me satisfaction? What brings me a feeling of purpose and meaning? The second question you ask yourself is, what am I good at? What do I know how to do better than most? What are my skills? What are my crafts? When you ask these questions, it's important that you don't answer the other questions when you're asking yourself these. You might be very good at something that you don't love. You still write that down. You write down what you love anyway, and you write down what you're good at anyway, even if you're good at something you don't love or you love something that you're not good at. I love language, and I'm terrible at learning language. I love listening to people with different dialects and languages, experiencing people from all around the world, and I can't speak another language to save my life. I love language, and I'm not good at language. I would put language in the what do I love category. The first 2 questions again, what do you love? What are you good at? The third question is, what can you be paid for? And I think this question is kind of easy and hard at the same time. Everyone thinks about like, well, I love language, but how do I get paid with language? That's why you don't answer these questions thinking about the others. But when it comes to what can you be paid for, you can be paid for things in a lot of different ways. You can be paid to lead. You can be paid to teach. You can be paid to speak. You can be paid to create, to build, to physically make things. You can be paid as an employee, as a contractor, as a business owner, as a consultant, as a freelance, this or that. Like, there's so many ways that you can be paid. And so I want you to answer that question with an open mind to making money in a different way than what you make now. If you knew that you were going to make twice as much money in some way that you've never made money before, and you knew that was absolutely a fact, then what happens is people who have only ever worked in corporate tend to be afraid of entrepreneurship. And so they just shut off a whole, host of ways to make money because, well, that's too risky. Newsflash, in 2026, being a W-2 employee is pretty darn risky these days. So just be open-minded to what can you be paid for, right? What can you be paid to do? Finally, the last question I think is the most important. What does the world need that you can help provide? What are the things that you feel like you wouldn't be inspired to be a part of that the world needs? So I'm going to give you some examples from my own Ikigai exercise. I actually did this in the hospital, and I'll have the editor put up a picture of my Ikigai here so you can see what mine looked like. And it was funny because actually 2 answers came out of it, and I chose one of them. Or what do I love? Well, I love connecting with people. I love learning about people. I love seeing the best in people. Sometimes I can see the best in people that they can't see in themselves. And I love being able to draw that out in people. It also means sometimes I can't see the worst in people, and I have a train wreck of narcissists in my career background, but I love seeing the best in people and helping them become that version of themselves. So that's one. What am I good at? Well, I'm actually good at coaching and teaching and mentoring and guiding. I have made all the mistakes as the crash test dummy throughout my career. So now I get to turn around and say hey, don't do that because here's what happens when you do. And so I love actually coaching and mentoring and teaching people how to do it better. I do this with my children. I do this with my wife. Unfortunately, she hates when I do that. But I also do this with all of my community, my clients, my friends, my neighbors, you name it. I'm very good at seeing the best in people and helping them see it too. What can I be paid for? Coaching. I can be paid to be a coach for someone. I can help someone transform from this version of themselves to that version. And in doing so, they pay me for a fair value. Usually, I try to make the math 10 times the amount of money that they pay me is the value they get in return. And so I can be paid to coach and lead and teach people. I can also be paid to speak. I can be paid to write books, all of those things. And finally, what does the world need? Dear God, does this world need better leaders? Oh my gosh. We have awful leaders right now. Take politics aside. Nobody in politics that I think is a great leader right now. But in the corporate world, everybody is extracting value. They're not even creating value anymore. Everything is getting worse, and it feels like it's getting worse. Everything's more expensive, and profits are, going through the roof. Oracle just announced like 30,000 layoffs after a record quarter or a record year of profit. Everything sucks because it's all about value extraction. So we need better leaders. We need better leaders, yes, in politics, but very much we also need better leaders in business. We need people to stand up to shareholders and say, you are not the only constituent. You are not the only stakeholder in this equation. And if you don't allow that to change, this is all going to go away. Sorry, got on a little rant there, and I could go for hours on this topic, but I'll just say that what does the world need? The world needs better leaders. If you take those 4 questions and the answers from them, for me, right? What are you good at? Seeing the best in people. What do you love? Helping people. What can you be paid for? Coaching. And what does the world need? Better leaders. And so you take those 4 things together, you integrate them, and you find that teaching leadership is one of my ikigai, or one of my life purposes, or the thing that I can do that gives me purpose and meaning in my life. However you want to think about it. Answer those 4 questions and then look for patterns in the data and try to find these integrations. I have a really great exercise for this, which I'll put down in the description of this video as the action item to take to go get this Ikigai training exercise that we've done. If you understand what your life purpose is, if you understand how to actually live in your life purpose, money becomes a little bit less important. Again, below a certain threshold, money is very important. Above that threshold, money doesn't matter as much as you think it does. What I've learned the hard way is that money is a proxy for the pain you tolerate doing something you hate. In other words, if you hate what you do, you have to make more money in order to keep doing it. And this can run away from you, where it's constantly, you're chasing a number that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you never get any happier. The goalposts constantly move with you. Because the truth is, if you don't love what you do, but you do it because it's required of you, well, that's a chore. That's not a labor of love. So to summarize here, at the end of the day, if you feel like you're stuck in your career because you're constantly chasing money, you get the promotion, like that's something else that you should ask yourself. Are you trying to get promoted because you need to make more money to justify the pain of what you do? Or are you trying to get promoted so that you have more autonomy and impact? It can be both. It can be one or the other. But if you're trying to make more money because you need more money to stop making the job you do suck so much, maybe you're in the wrong field. And yes, I know I'm talking to people who have invested sometimes 20, 30 years in a career field. I spent 25 years in my career field and retired, threw it all away, walked away from that industry entirely. For 3 years now, I have not looked back, and I am a much happier version of myself over here than I was in that industry. I think about that industry right now. I'm really glad I'm not in it today. You can make significant changes in your life. You don't have to go through a near-death experience, but you can ask yourself, how can I bring my career into more alignment with what my meaning is and what my purpose is? Which, by the way, another side note here, a lot of people talk about how they don't know what their life purpose is. They don't know what their meaning is. Some people tell me that I don't even know what I enjoy. I get that. I think I'm going to make another video about this, but when you don't know what it is that makes you happy, what brings you joy, what brings you satisfaction, what brings you meaning, when you don't know what those things are, that should be a red flag for you to know that you need to take a minute and reconnect with the human part of yourself and understand, zoom out for a second, right? We're monkeys on a rock hurtling through the vastness of the cosmos. And this is all going to go away pretty soon. In 100 years, nobody will remember your name. Like, I remember 5 names from history and like nobody else, right? There's billions of people who have lived and died and we don't know anything about them. And that will be you and me in 100 years' time. So let go of all of the detailed minutia that's going on in your life and zoom out and think about, like, what do I want to get out of this trip that I'm on? Your life is a start date and end date with a dash in between. Make the most of the dash. even if that means taking a risk and doing something that might seem foolish to others. Listen, I know this is an executive leadership channel. I'm telling you, these things matter in order for you to show up as the best executive you can be. If your career is in misalignment with your life purpose, with your ikigai, you will not show up as the best version of yourself. And in a recent video, I just talked about how optimism is so important in order to be seen as an executive. If you hate your job, you're going to show up as a pessimist. And it means that you're going to get stuck, which is only going to be more of a negative feedback loop. You hate your job, you hate your career, you hate your company, you hate this boss because you don't really like what you're doing, and they can sense that, and like it just becomes this negative feedback loop. And so don't do that. Go change your career for the better. Put yourself in alignment with what you're supposed to do, what you believe is important to the world, to you, to others. So I'll end it here just by saying that money is a proxy for the pain you tolerate doing something you hate. Learn how to understand what you love and what you're good at and what you can be paid to do and what the world needs. Integrate all of that into an ikigai. Build a new career that is in alignment with who you're supposed to be, and you won't need to make very much money, and you absolutely should make a lot of money, because if you love what you do, you'll show up as an optimist, which means that you'll be seen as a leader and people will follow you and good things will happen. And then the snowball effect goes the other way. And I've seen this firsthand myself. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I had a number in my head for 25 years and I have now let go of that number. I have no numbers in my head. I just have the people that I work with, the people I coach, the people I help grow into better versions of themselves. That's my ikigai, is teaching leadership to good people. I want to help you find your ikigai as well. Like I said, there's a link in the description where you can download this resource for ikigai and go through that exercise. And if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, if you want to really understand, okay, I figured out my ikigai, what do I do now? Well, check out the other link in the description and let's talk about how we can work together, helping you change your life, your career for the better. And that's what I love doing with people. I hope this was a good one for you. It was a little bit long, but I'm excited to talk to you about these things. This is my true passion, is really helping good people become great leaders. I hope this was a good one for you. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of video or if you have thoughts, or also let me know in the comments what your ikigai is if you figured that out. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.